Welcome to the Tyler Werner Show, discussing all the latest in Philadelphia sports. It's normally out of character for me to do this, not to mention I haven't really had a reason to do this in a long time, but, E-A-G-L-E-S, Eagles! After they defeat the Pittsburgh Steelers, lay the beat down on them, offensively and defensively, in an improbable 3-0 start that nobody saw coming, let alone a beatdown laid on the Pittsburgh Steelers that nobody saw coming. And the opening to Carson Wentz's career only becomes more historical.
And now, here's Tyler Werner.
Oh, and yes it does, as this NFL season for the Philadelphia Eagles only becomes more historical. 34-3 beatdown on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Unbelievable. As you tuned into that game, I mean, it started off, somewhat competitive. Pittsburgh Steelers moving the ball down the field. Not too much of a surprise there. It looked like they were moving the ball pretty well. And then this defense that I guess so far this season you can kind of categorize as, a bend but don't break defense. They hold them to a field goal attempt, and they set the tone for the rest of the game, it seems, with that blocked field goal.
Yeah.
And ultimately, it was like the tone setter right there. And the Philadelphia Eagles, ladies and gentlemen, Carson Wentz, another unbelievable performance. It's like this guy just gets better each game. We all watched him against the Browns, and he looked pretty good for a rookie, and making great throws, which he continues to make. And then we thought, first game, get the Chicago Bears. They're going to have him on tape. See how he comes out against the Bears. And then he comes out even better against the Bears, if anything. And they win that game convincingly. And then it's like, all right, now this Eagles team, they have a real test against the Pittsburgh Steelers, who many have as a favorite to be the Super Bowl champion this year, that many NFL power rankings had at number 1 or 2 in the entire NFL, albeit through only 2 weeks of the season, but nevertheless, for right reasons. And the Eagles come out and they lay the beat down on the Pittsburgh Steelers, and Carson Wentz plays even better against this team. Now, it's not an all-world defense they were playing against, but still, the fact that they laid the 34-3 beatdown, handing like the biggest defeat of Mike Tomlin's career at Lincoln Financial Field, is just mind-boggling and unbelievable. Nobody saw this coming. We all saw a loss here. You had your fans who were optimistic and, they're going to win. And many of us saw, of those people, you're over-optimistic. And I'm sure they're surprised themselves that this Eagles team pulled off what they pulled off, because nobody saw this coming. And yet the Eagles, against a great team, lay the beat down and look only more impressive across the board. And you look at this entire team right now, and it's like, where is their weakness? Maybe, if anything, you'd say, they got one cornerback, maybe one hole there kind of right now. But other than that, after watching that game, it's like, what is their weakness? Now, it's, it's a stretch to say they're going to play like that every game this year. It's not, they'll lose some games at some point. I mean, in a few weeks they got Minnesota, which is Minnesota's got a great defense, and it's a very losable game. A couple division games they could potentially lose. Splitting teams, maybe with the Cowboys and the Giants. They still got the Packers down the road. They still got the Seahawks, which by that point might be more in their stride. They got the Cincinnati Bengals. They got the Baltimore Ravens, who are 3-0 as well. They got some teams that, maybe depending when you play them, could be very challenging. So it's one of those. They will lose some games, but right now, the question is, how good can this Eagles team be this year? Because now it's like we're beyond. And I was kind of saying this last week. We're beyond. It seems. So it seems we're beyond like that whole year that we thought it would take, for Carson Wentz to work out rookie mistakes and see, this is the beauty of this whole thing right now. Initially, they were going to quote unquote put him in bubble wrap this season because Sam Bradford was going to be the starting quarterback, and then Chase Daniel would be the second stringer, and Carson Wentz would be the third stringer, the guy holding the clipboard on the sidelines. It didn't turn out that way at all. And we thought that, okay, 2017 maybe is when Carson Wentz starts. And then we thought, okay, and then that 2017 season is going to be like his real deal, where he works out kinks and whatnot in his game, and that's going to be his trial year, his first going. And then Bradford gets traded, and Carson Wentz gets named starting quarterback. And then it's like, okay, he's going to be, this year. It's like we fast forwarded to 2017 in regards to Carson Wentz, and he's going to be starting. And now this is the season. He can get these mistakes out of the way early. The growing pains. And now, 3 games in, it's like those growing pains never even existed. And now it's like in the, I guess, development of Carson Wentz, or at least theoretically what we thought was going to be the development of Carson Wentz here in Philadelphia. It's like we fast forwarded to 2018 or 2019, for crying out loud. Because the guy is the front runner right now for Rookie of the Year. 3 games in, has not turned the ball over at all. Hasn't even looked like he was close to throwing an interception yet this season. And when there's been a couple bad snaps almost over his head or off to the side, even, like he still immediately gets the ball and on a few occasions this season and either almost makes a great play or makes a great play. It's unbelievable. It's mind-boggling. Another mind-boggling stat that people are throwing, that's been thrown out there, is that the 2 times in the past in Eagles franchise history, when the Eagles have started out their season 3-0, with each game beating the opposing team by double digits, both those occasions in the past, they have gone on to the Super Bowl. This is the 3rd occasion that that's happened so far. Now, that's not to say that the Eagles are going to the Super Bowl or anything this year. That's not to say that at all. But it's mind-boggling what is going on with this team so far. with this quarterback. And after this, with this defense too. I mean, they barely even blitzed. They got natural pressure on Ben Roethlisberger, and sometimes sacking him back. But he was skittish all game long, had happy feet, and you see, I mean, and then you look on the side. They showed Jim Schwartz late in the game on the side. The game's beyond over, but he's still getting a joy out of his defense, bringing the heat on Ben Roethlisberger and making him look skittish and making him make mistakes and just shutting him down. I mean, Jim Schwartz was animated on the sideline. Quite frankly, I loved it.
Yes,
We're gonna pick
yes,
this,
Jim. I love it, man.
I mean, it was a joy to see. It was a joyous occasion for Eagles fans. It really was. That had to be one of the most joyous games to watch as an Eagles fan in years. I mean, when's the last one you could think of? Does it sound like we had a little car racing by there outside? But anyhow, this game was just a joy to watch. I mean, better than any. It topped any games early on in the Chip Kelly era that we've seen. Am I right?
Was that like a wise ass comment?
I mean, you had that snowball game, which was pretty cool. You know, you had the first game of the Chip Kelly era that was pretty cool. And besides that, yeah. But this against a premier NFL team, one of the front runners to win the Super Bowl this year, and they laid the beat down on them. And any Pittsburgh Steelers fans in attendance just sat there late in the game, like, what is happening? Throwing their terrible towels over their faces in shame. Yeah, so much for your 6 rings and everything, and just take it and shove it on this occasion. Because the here and the now, this Philadelphia Eagles team lays an ultimate beatdown on the Pittsburgh Steelers. And it's just, again, the opening of Carson Wentz's career continues to become more mind-boggling. 3 games, no turnovers. And again, this isn't with all-world wide receivers, ladies and gentlemen. This is with, Jordan Matthews, Dorial Green-Beckham dropping occasional balls that should be touchdown receptions or catches. This is without Zach Ertz. Although certainly Brent Selleck had, a few good receptions, without question. And of course, Darren Sproles was a weapon. And still has it. I mean, that 73 yard, that was like the play of the game right there. I mean, where Carson Wentz puts it too, on the money. And on the run, it's unbelievable. Now, it's not to say he is Aaron Rodgers, but he has Aaron Rodgers-like skills. As far as accuracy and arm, mobility on the run, I mean, look, and the way he slides in the pocket and avoids getting sacked this game. I mean, a quick slide, it looks like he's going to get pummeled. And something that Sam Bradford would not be able to do. Something that Mark Sanchez would not. It's something certainly Nick Foles would not be able to do.
That pisses me off.
This guy Carson Wentz is doing. And he's delivering the ball in the absolute, perfect spot. Hitting guys in stride, like Darren Sproles. So he can, so that basically that play with Darren Sproles in the third quarter, the explosive third quarter it was. So that basically for him, it's like a punt return in the open field with a few guys to beat. And Darren Sproles, it's like he's still got it. He makes those plays. Now, I don't know who out there has Darren Sproles on their fantasy team. He's not the most ideal because very, you don't know what kind of production you're going to get out of him. But if you happen to have him in your fantasy lineup this weekend, it certainly paid off. With his 6 receptions for 128 yards and a touchdown. Never mind him in the running game, though. Not to mention, never mind really not having Ryan Matthews out there with his ankle that continues to be a nagging injury. Wendell Smallwood and Kenyon Barner, essentially guys 3 and 4 on the depth chart for running back, are doing a pretty darn good job. Wendell Smallwood, 17 carries for 79 yards and a touchdown. Kenyon Barner, 8 for 42 and a touchdown. These guys are averaging nearly 5 yards a carry without Darren Sproles and Ryan Matthews really carrying the ball this game. Sproles and Matthews, two carries apiece, both for negative yardage. But, again, Ryan Matthews' ankle's bothering him. But Smallwood, Barner, Smallwood looked pretty darn good. The way he was hitting the hole, just straight through. And with an offensive line that was suspect heading into the season and will hopefully continue. It's playing at a pretty darn good level. It seems to be overachieving. Now, Lane Johnson's going to be gone for his suspension for a while. And we're going to see how they can continue without him in the lineup. But, hopefully they can carry on. Right now, Doug Peterson looks like the genius that Chip Kelly was supposed to be.
Gosh, it went great.
Nobody saw this, really. Who saw this coming? Who saw this beatdown of the Pittsburgh Steelers coming? All the time, just being an Eagles fan over the years, too, I'm sure many of us can relate to this. All these times where, as Eagle fans, we get made fun of by Pittsburgh Steelers fans. I got it. Oh, they got 6 rings, the Eagles have 0. Yada, yada. I got it. But it just goes to show you, though, to some extent, that still doesn't matter with the here and the now and the future. When those fans of the Steelers go silent after their team gets embarrassed by the Eagles, the here and the now. All right, I don't care. I don't care about that because this first Super Bowl ring that maybe it's not this year, maybe it's not the next year, but it seems imminent right now that this regime can do this, that with this quarterback and with maybe a few improvements here and there made by the team in the coming years, it seems imminent. That first Super Bowl ring that may be imminent for this Eagles organization will be so sweet that it doesn't, the fact that it'll only be the first, to me, irrelevant. So, anyways, it is the Tyler Werner Show. We're going to hit the first break here. As always, we got some fun things. I want to go down the rest of the schedule to recalibrate, as many would say, as to how good this Eagles team can be. Because a few weeks ago, I said they'll finish 6-10. Carson Wentz, this and that. But 3 games, and instead of starting 1-2, they've started 3-0 heading into the bye. And now, we just wonder, how good can this Eagles team be? We'll talk about it on the other side. Right here on the Tyler Werner Show. By the way, Facebook.com/Tyler Werner Show. Always a good way to get in with the program. If you, can see what I mean. So that in mind, it is the Tyler Werner Show. We'll be right back after this.
Attention parents. Is your under 18-year-old daughter being cyberstalked by a man who identifies themselves as a grown adult male?
I want to meet you and fool around. Are you up to meeting tonight, hon? I think I would like to shower with you. We can do it in the shower, too.
If so, you need to contact Chris Hansen and Company to bust these online cyberstalkers.
How are you tonight? Why don't you have a seat there and get comfortable for that? I guess you're going to tell me next that this is the very first time you've done something like this.
Chris Hansen and the Dateline crew will take care of it. Contact us, and we will put an end to the cyber stalking that your daughter is experiencing.
Well, there's something you got to know. I am Chris Hansen with Dateline NBC, and we're doing a story on computer predators.
Busted! Hi there, I'm Hank Hill. Well, I'd like to tell you what Strickland can do to meet your energy needs. You see, at Strickland, the customer comes first. It's kind of interesting. The word customer begins with C-U. Well, we don't see you as just another sale, but as a member of our team. I thought you might enjoy 7.5 gallons of pure premium propane. Strickland Propane, the customer comes first.
We're back to the Tyler Werner Show. After, of course, a huge win over the Pittsburgh Steelers by the Philadelphia Eagles. It's unexpected 34-3 victory. Beatdown. And, this is one of those games. It's one of those games where it's just like, you'll remember where you were at when you saw it. Kind of deal. You'll remember, like, what you were doing that day, and it's just, it was an insane game to watch on TV, and certainly if you were at Lincoln Financial Field and saw the game, as an Eagles fan, of course, it just had to be, that place was just, it was hopping, I guess, as some Eagles fans would say who were there. And, again, it's one of these games that it just begs the question, like, how good can this Eagles team be? And, certainly someone of the Pittsburgh Steelers, I don't know if who out there has heard this, but Pittsburgh's starting tackle Marcus Gilbert went as far to say that to Brandon Graham that he'll see them in the Super Bowl. It's an all Eagles, Philadelphia Super Bowl.
Oh, man!
Or an all Pennsylvania. Yeah, that's, you have a point. I'm not ready to say they're going to make the Super Bowl yet, just quite yet, this Eagles team, but playoffs. I almost sound a little more like Jim Moore himself there. Playoffs right now, to me, is certainly not out of the question. Winning this division right now, you look at it across the board, the Eagles look like the best team in the NFC East. Now you got the Giants who are 2-1, you got the Cowboys who are 2-1, of course, but as far as odds right now, odds on favorite, the Eagles, you got it. Recalibration is something I was talking about in the first segment of the show. And that's something I want to kind of, I guess, go through here. The rest of the Philadelphia Eagles schedule. Because you just recalibrate everything, pretty much, that with what has happened through 3 games. How they've exceeded expectations in almost every category. And it's just mind-boggling. The defense is playing, dare I say, almost like a top 5 defense in the NFL. Statistically, so far they are. And I know things average out. Statistics like that, things even out. At the end of the season, statistically, I wouldn't expect the Eagles to be number 1 in defense, and that stuff evens out. And it depends how people, whether it's yards or points or allowed or both, what they take into account. Nevertheless, they're playing like a top 5 defense so far, just about, right around. So you can't complain, and you got to love what you're seeing out there. Getting to the quarterback, getting to Big Ben Roethlisberger is a whole another thing. Even though "nother" is not really a word, but you get what I'm saying. And obviously, offensively, no Zach Ertz out there. Carson Wentz still has, pretty much a field day. When you take into account some of the drop balls and the fact that he's not throwing to any Pro Bowl wide receivers. The running game, again, Wendell Smallwood, Kenyon Barner, 3rd and 4th stringers, carrying the day out there rather well. They're going to lose Lane Johnson, of course, but regardless, the offensive line has played pretty well for the most part. For one thing, it helps that Carson Wentz is mobile in the pocket. He didn't get sacked at all this week. Special teams, they haven't really been in a situation yet where they've had to rely on Caleb Sturgis to make field goals in order to win the game or win any games, They haven't required of him to bang through any, 50-plus yard field goals for the sake of staying alive in the game or winning a game, putting the game away, yada yada. And of course, they had that blocked field goal themselves on Sunday against the Pittsburgh Steelers. So, they're doing their job. What else can you say? So right now they're on the bye week, of course. Carson Wentz, took his flight back to Bismarck, North Dakota, where, take a few days off, and I guess he's probably going to be out hunting more geese, as he was doing when he got the call last month that he is going to be the starting quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles. Maybe it wasn't even last month. Maybe it was technically beginning of September when this happened. It probably was. It wasn't even last month. But, so, at least for right now in the season, you could look at where the bye week is placed, and where you could poll a bunch of players, a bunch of NFL players, and you could, I guess, debate where you feel is the most suitable place for a bye week. I guess it can really vary. This is as early as a bye week can be in the NFL. This is the first week where there will be bye weeks for some teams, like the Eagles. And, it's one thing, it's like, is it too early? I don't know. At least for the tone of the season. Is a later in the season bye week more desirable? Maybe a little more mid-season, later October? I don't know. I guess that's really maybe a little more player specific or organizational specific. I don't know. That's just it's kind of water under the bridge as far as, but from our perspective, from an analytical perspective of how the season's going, I think this is a good spot for the bye week based off of what has happened, what has transpired these first 3 weeks of the NFL season. Because if they have to turn right around now and play a game this week after beating the Steelers, after an increasingly intriguing progression here to the season. Starting off beating the Browns easily, then they beat the Bears on Monday Night Football easily. And then even more easily, they beat the Pittsburgh Steelers, a premier NFL team, with probably the best wide receiver in football, a top 5 quarterback in football, and yada yada. A Super Bowl favorite team. No, instead of going out and playing somebody else this week, like a good opponent or whatever, it's a bye week. They get a chance to catch their breath before, maybe that whole idea of smelling themselves comes into play, if you know what I mean. So, this is a good spot for the bye week, at least, a good spot for this bye week, so that they can take their time. I mean, some guys would want to get, guys get healthier. I mean, the injury list is not substantial. The Eagles are not, they're not hampered with injuries right now. I mean, it's only week 3. I mean, again, you got Zach Ertz. Maybe he'll return for the next game. Lane Johnson's going to be suspended. Of course, not that he's injured, but they're going to be missing him. Ryan Matthews, again, he's got this nagging ankle injury. You never. But then at the end of the day, you look at what Wendell Smallwood has been doing, and Kenyon Barner, at least carrying the football. And I mean, what do I care? I mean, what do we care that Ryan Matthews is missing? I mean, there's not really. It seems as though that's not really a problem. So, okay. Ryan Matthews is going to continually be questionable for the meantime, I guess. Other than that, they're fine, it seems. And, again, we'll see through the season what happens. There's not going to be a bye week after this, obviously. So, we'll just, hope they don't get hampered by injuries or anything. But that remains to be seen, I guess, It's early in the season, so as far as that's concerned, there's not really much, except for maybe Zach Ertz, maybe to make it back. And even still, Jordan Matthews is a favorite target in the slot, and Brent Selleck has caught a few good balls this past week. And Carson Wentz is just playing lights out good. So, although it would be great if he had great weaponry, so far, he hasn't really needed it. Now, if maybe they want to be a Super Bowl championship team, maybe they could use that extra weapon or two, but, it helps this week that Darren Sproles was quite a weapon in the passing game.
I agree.
So, for this, since they started 3-0, and you know, after starting 3-0, it's one of these things, too. It's like, you know, dang, they just beat the Steelers that badly, and, now they got at least from a viewer's perspective, now they have a bye week. Dang, we got to wait an extra week to see them play again. And that's an awesome thing. Is it not? Well, they come out of the bye, and they play the Detroit Lions at Detroit. And I'm not sure if I don't even remember anymore whether I had this as a loss or not. I think I had them winning it, I guess, against the Lions, and they would have moved to 2-2. Well, now they come out of the bye, they beat the Lions. Back to business, extra time to prepare for them. And again, they're just a better team than what we thought they would be. They're not this 6-10 team with Carson Wentz going through all kinds of growing pains year one in the NFL, and so win against the Detroit Lions. The Redskins division game got to be on the top of their game. The Redskins, I don't know if you see what I did there. I didn't even mean to do that. What I meant to say was the Redskins stink this year. And I said the Red stinks. I couldn't even, speak right there.
People, they.
So they come out and they beat the Redskins. I have them 5-0. Then they lose to the Minnesota Vikings. Not because of Sam Bradford, but their defense is rather impressive. I mean, look what they just did to the Carolina Panthers. We'll get to more on the other side. Top 5 thoughts around the NFL this week. Other games that happened. Which, if I included the Eagles in that, they'd certainly be number 1. But call around the NFL, thoughts around the NFL outside of the Philadelphia Eagles for a reason. But so the Eagles, they're bound to lose a game somewhere. They're not, they're only going to stay undefeated for so long. And so they lose to the Minnesota Vikings, a quality team in the NFL. Perhaps a team with a defense that good perhaps gets a first round bye in the playoffs this year in the NFC. And maybe that's with or without Sam Bradford starting. But when you're there, I mean, Minnesota right now, an up-and-coming team, I guess it doesn't matter too much. As long as you're, and Bradford's a passable quarterback. Now, all right, so they lose to the Vikings, 5-1. The next week, they go to the Dallas Cowboys, and then to the Giants. And I don't think they're going to lose back-to-back division games. I'm thinking they'll lose one of them. And then down the road, whichever one they don't lose, they'll lose to the, I'm thinking they bounce back and they beat the Cowboys. I mean, well, I don't know. I don't see them losing both of those games back to back. I mean, between the Cowboys and the Giants, take your pick as to who's better. One of them could be a wild card team. I don't know. I don't see any of them finishing better than 9 games, though. Dak Prescott's looking pretty good. Yeah, they got Ezekiel Elliott in the run game. Des Bryant, he's having a bit of a questionable season. Bit banged up as well. Defensively, Giants, I could see them losing to the Cowboys and then beating the Giants. But, then again, this Eagles team, they're pretty good, and you wonder if they're going to lose 2 in a row. Well, we'll say they. I think they're going to go 4-2 in the division ultimately. I think they'll beat the Redskins twice. The Redskins are not good this year. Doesn't surprise me. After last year, I thought it was a fluke year where everyone was playing above their head against bad teams for the most part. And this year, they just kind of stink so far, despite getting a division win against the Giants. But then again, to me, the Giants are flimsy anyhow. And, they're going to lose, they'll lose a game here and there was it the Giants? Yeah, the Giants did lose to the Redskins. Yeah, they're just a little flimsy. And they're the kind of team that'll lose a game like that when they have a chance to move to 3. They'll lose to the Redskins team there. So, that's where I see things shaking out there. A 6-2 at midseason. Now, the Falcons are pretty good. The Seahawks, the Packers, they probably lose 2 out of 3 of them. And then they got the Bengals, Redskins, Ravens. Probably lose 1 of those. Because I don't see... Again, they beat the Redskins at home. The Bengals on the road and the Ravens on the road. It's... I don't know. The Ravens are looking pretty good this year. I mean, I don't know. I just wonder how long they'll stay undefeated as well. They almost lost this week, but they didn't, And time's ticking with the Bengals. I don't know. Maybe the Bengals don't make it to the playoffs this year. Maybe they're up there in the mix, but I don't know. There's only so many years in a row they're going to make the playoffs and not go anywhere in the playoffs, and so. And then the Giants and the Cowboys to finish up with. And again, a desperate Giants team maybe beats the Eagles there, and then in a revenge situation at home, the Eagles hosting the Cowboys beat the Cowboys and finish the season strong. At this point, to me, this Eagles team, they should win no less than 10 games. Nothing short of it. They should win this division at this point. I don't see any, I don't quite see the Cowboys or the Giants finishing better than 9 games. In fact, I originally had the Giants winning this division at like 9-7 this year to begin with. And they still may win 9 games, but this Eagles team is better than we thought. Significantly at this point. The way that... And look, we could throw stats out all day, like what I said earlier. How, the Eagles, the only other time that they started 3-0, with each win being by double digits, or each victory being at least a double-digit win, like anybody's going to have a triple-digit win in the NFL. But you get what I'm saying. 10 or more points each win. The only other times they've done that, they've gone to the Super Bowl. And that's great. That doesn't mean it's going to happen this year. Nor do I expect that to happen. Nor do I think it will happen. But there's also a 75% chance, historically, that you make the playoffs when you start 3-0. And the way this Eagles team has looked, and the way that they should be better than everybody else in this division. They look better than everybody else in this division. They just beat a premier NFL team easily, which, best of luck, Cowboys and Giants, when you play the Steelers. It speaks to me that they're going to win this division, and that they should. And we at this point, We should expect them to win the division with everything we're seeing going on. This team has upped the ante. They have, again, they have called me, they have called us to recalibrate. Now, again, it's unfair to expect them to go 12-4, have home field advantage, make it to the Super Bowl, let alone win the Super Bowl or anything like that this year. But right now, this team is certainly capable of winning this division. And that's exciting.
Oh, man!
So we'll come right back. We'll take a little breather here and all this excitement and all this enthusiasm. And we'll talk about other games in the NFL this past week. Go down the list. My top 5 thoughts around the NFL. Other games that happened.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And it'll be right here in the Tyler Werner Show. And we'll close things out then shortly thereafter. With that in mind, it is the Tyler Werner Show. Stay tuned for more on the other side.
What defines the perfect ball? It's not just about size when it comes to Brady and Belichick's slow-cooked Italian meatballs.
I've handled dozens of balls over the past week. We prepare our balls over time. The texture of the balls is very easy to identify.
And that slow-cooked texture is one of the qualities that make Brady and Belichick's meatballs stand above the rest. But it's also Brady's unique rubbing process that only he has the authority to perform.
When I pick those balls out, to me they're perfect. I don't want anyone touching the balls after that. I don't want anyone rubbing them. To me, those balls are perfect.
Once the balls reached an equilibrium, we're down to the rubbing process.
Brady and Belichick's slow-cooked Italian meatballs. When you're looking to make it a pasta night, or doing a little catering, like Brady would say, to me, those balls are perfect.
What is it about good sex that makes me have to crap? Guess it's all that pump and dump. You really jarred something loose, Tiger.
Oh, there it is. Thursday night NFL football game. With that in mind, we will now go around the NFL. Top 5 thoughts. Week 3 edition of other games that occurred within the NFL. And we're going to start off number 5, the Kansas City Chiefs. Of course, coached by Andy Reid, shutting down the New York Jets 24-3 with a 2-1 record. So,
give me some good questions. Come on.
Good win for the Kansas City Chiefs there against the New York Jets. Move down to number 4. And this was a big division game here. The Atlanta Falcons going to New Orleans and beating the Saints 45-32. In what was a high-scoring affair and a big win for the Atlanta Falcons. And now move to a 2-1 record as well, while the New Orleans Saints struggle to start the season with a winning record. They struggle in their own building for that matter. Number 3 is a big one here. The Denver Broncos defeat the Cincinnati Bengals 29-17, and they move to 3-0. Another one of those possible tie-break matchups down the road if the Bengals even make the playoffs this year, or would even have the same record as the Broncos, but nevertheless a big win for the Denver Broncos. remain undefeated. Then we go to number 2. And again, this is perhaps an even bigger win. More important. The Minnesota Vikings beating the Carolina Panthers 22-10. Cam Newton gets picked off 3 times. And this was just a big win, another defensive effort against the Carolina Panthers, holding them to 10 points. Again, not much. Sam Bradford doing his job and doing it well, and the Minnesota Vikings defense just does the rest. They have a great defense. And this win against the Carolina Panthers, not to mention the Vikings moving to 3-0. Again, this is one of these things where the Vikings, they continue to win like this, and they could very well end up being a team that gets home field advantage in the NFC this year, the way they're playing. Number 1, close it out with none other than no Brady, basically no Rob Gronkowski, no problem. As the New England Patriots, ladies and gentlemen, on Thursday Night Football, shut out the Houston Texans 27-0. Not to say that the Texans are going to be a playoff team this year, but the fact that here the New England Patriots sit 3-0, with a chance to start 4-0 without Tom Brady. I mean, Gronkowski might be a little more healthy this week in their 4th game. As a matter of fact, I don't even remember who they play. I should know this. Let me go to fantasy quick. And as you're listening, maybe you know who they're playing. Right now, I certainly don't off the top of my head. I should. But then again, there's so many little things. It's like you should know and you don't. But they play Buffalo, division rivalry game, against a team that doesn't have too good of a defense. Of course, Brissett went down as well, so the quarterback has been shaky for them. Of course, after Jimmy Garoppolo went down, but it's one more game, and then Tom Brady comes back.
To me, those balls are perfect.
The countdown begins. Not to mention this game against Buffalo, after Buffalo won this past week, gets off the schneid. This was after. This game will be after the Patriots have an extra 3 days to rest.
You gotta give you a few days to rest.
Having played the Texans on Thursday. So, a few extra time for Bill Belichick to prepare for this game. And very well might start out 4-0 without Tom Brady. Almost as if Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski have not been missing these first 4 games.
This is the end of this subject for me for a long time.
So, there you have it. And that's the end of the subject of Around the NFL. Top 5 Thoughts, Week 3 edition. But like I said before, if you're just going, you include the Eagles in there, that was the number 1 thought. I mean, hands down. Nobody expected that beatdown of the Pittsburgh Steelers that the Eagles handed them this past week. It's just not, I mean, even people, even maybe, okay, some analysts, like Sal Paolantonio, for instance, I know he was on record having the Eagles win the game.
Oh, yeah.
But he had a 3-point win, not a 31-point win. I don't know, he was on the Mike Missinelli show. I think he said like 24-21 or something like that.
Brindy, how you doing, man?
And But nobody in their right mind would have thought 34-3. And it's just mind-boggling. I mean, last week we were talking about they beat the Bears, and as impressive as Carson Wentz looked, and I was kind of joking how I was joking on myself how as well as he's playing, and I was like in La La Land. And I was just saying how it's hard not to be. Here they beat the Steelers, and I just it's like the Tyler Werner Show, it's become La La Land here. Just everything that we're seeing right now out of this Eagles team. I mean, the way Carson Wentz is playing out there. Start with the quarterback, obviously. Doug Peterson as well, the coach, calling great plays. Scheming it up.
Gosh, it went great.
I mean, Wendell Smallwood, Kenyon Barner in the running game, looking pretty good. Darren Sproles again, a receiving, out of the backfield threat. Catching big balls in the slot that again are thrown perfectly. Pretty much. The receivers, I mean, again, Aguilar's at least coming alive a little bit. I mean, he's not putting up mind-boggling numbers. Dorial Green Beckham a little bit coming alive. Jordan Matthews, a big target. Brendan Selleck making some plays. Not great receivers, but nevertheless, buoyed by it helps that Carson Wentz is playing at such a high level, and that he is exceeding our expectations. And then again, you go to the defense and what they're doing out there, getting to the quarterback with natural pressure, not blitzing. Not even blitz. Fletcher Cox with 2 sacks this game. Rodney McLeod with the interception. I mean, Malcolm Jenkins playing at a Pro Bowl level. Brandon Graham, one of the focal points of this defense this year. Connor Barwin getting in there in some action as he tends to. I mean,
yes, we're gonna pick
yes, Jim. I love it, man.
An animated Jim Schwartz on the sideline. I hope he's mic'd up one of these games coming up, and it'd just be awesome. I mean, this is special teams doing what they need to do, blocking a field goal, setting the tone against the Steelers. I mean, it's like we're in La La Land. I'm in La La Land. And I'm just laughing at myself. I can't help it. At how morose the tone was a month ago, before this whole change took place. I mean, you go back to when they moved up in the draft, and I mean, I don't know, maybe I'll dig up some more, just to further make fun of myself and everybody else who was in the same boat as I was. Like, oh, they moved up. Did they really move up to get this question mark of a quarterback? Did they really trade this guy and that guy, and they got rid of this draft pick? They didn't really trade people, but at least people that we don't need here, or have a strong desire to have here. You get my point. I mean, it's just a dramatic turn of events, it seems. And we continue to live in La La Land here on the Tyler Werner Show. However, we have the bye week coming up. So next time on the Tyler Werner Show, we're not going to have anything, new as far as game material to talk about on the Tyler Werner Show. Which is, a bit unfortunate.
Oh, no!
But we'll have other games in the NFL to watch as always, it's just any time, the Eagles aren't playing, you tune in and you watch another game. You tune into the fantasy here, your players, your fantasy team, yada, yada. And, hey, the Flyers, I don't know, they had a 4-0 preseason victory last night.
Oh, my God!
I don't know, we got Flyers preseason getting back in the swing of things. But, at least to keep us a little busy the next week, I don't know. But the point is, nothing right now compares to what is going on in the Eagles organization. It's just... Doug Peterson, Carson Wentz, Howie Roseman to some extent, and Jim Schwartz to some extent. They are putting a lot of doubts to rest right now. This whole idea of 6-10 and just kind of a, rookie growing pains season. The defense has, still has improvements to make. Offensively, they have a ways to go. They have a lot of holes to fill. Their offensive line is shoddy and unreliable at best. And it's credit to this organization, these players, this locker room, these coaches, however you want to put it, for through 3 weeks, throwing us for a loop. So, again, with that in mind, I could just keep rambling, I guess. But for now, that's what I got. We'll see what happens. Bye week, hopefully, Zach Ertz gets healed up a little bit. Again, it's the way they played. It's not really like they missed him this past week against the Steelers, but, we'll see down the road. They got, some better defenses that they'll be playing on the schedule at some point, eventually. That doesn't look like any, until the Vikings, maybe, in a few weeks, might be the next, the first real defensive test they have. But until then, the Eagles preparing this bye week to come out strong and hopefully beat the Detroit Lions in Detroit and start 4-0. So with that in mind, we will close down the Tyler Werner Show for this week. After the Eagles start 3-0 and just hand the ultimate beatdown to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I didn't even say, in the Battle of Pennsylvania, which is starting to be coined as Wentzylvania. Welcome to Wentzylvania, ladies and gentlemen. With that in mind, thanks for tuning in to the Tyler Werner Show, and stay tuned for more to come your way as we roll through into the bye week for the Philadelphia Eagles in the 2016 NFL season.